I'm Holden Spaht, managing partner here at Thoma Bravo. Today on Behind the Deal, we'll unpack the details of our acquisition of Coupa with insights from CEO Leagh Turner. Leagh, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
You as well.
Leagh is our rock star CEO of Coupa. And Leagh, maybe to get started, can you, I think maybe a way to just ground this conversation is to describe just a little bit of your background, SAP and Ceridian. That would be a good place to start.
Yeah, sure. I'm super happy to do that. I've been in enterprise software my entire career. I spent 12 years at SAP. I did a variety of different things, mostly in global go-to-market facing operating roles. And got a ton of experience with lots of different customers and lots of different cultures, managing big transactions, big teams. And then in 2018, I went to a company called Ceridian, now called Dayforce, trades on the public market. And it was a wonderful experience of scale and growth. Company went from about just shy of $1 billion on the top line to just shy of $2 billion on the top line. Lots of new customers. Managing a public company in the middle of COVID was an interesting experience. It's just tremendous company. And that experience has translated relatively well so far to the experience at Coupa. And I'm grateful for all those things that I learned along the way.
Yeah, amazing. By the way, I remember that company from one of my earlier days here at Thoma Bravo, and the transition, the successful transition from a services to a software company, and all the things that you and David did at Dayforce over that time period is really remarkable. It's an incredible, actually, story for those who don't know it. But can you talk a little bit about what attracted you to Coupa?
For sure. Lots of things. I guess first things first, Coupa has a wonderful reputation in the market, great brand, built a great product, stood the test of time, solved really meaningful enterprise and large enterprise customer issues globally, was operating at relative scale, good size, good scope, over $1 billion on the top line, global, wonderful, sticky, happy customers who wanted to do more with the company. And that must have meant that there were really good people. I didn't know that at the time, but I suspected that there were. And you told me that it was going to be a really interesting journey, and I believed you. And you told me that it was going to be a journey of scale and curiosity and ambition, and we could build a better business. And you were right. And then I figured if I was wrong about any of those things, that you guys were smart enough to be able to help back me up.
Did you know of Coupa when the phone rang? I mean,
For
given
sure.
your time at SAP and everything,
Yeah, I mean, I think in enterprise software, the team at Coupa had done a really good job of building brand recognition. And so I did for sure know of Coupa. They had an excellent reputation over many, many years. And so when the inbound came, I was thrilled by the name recognition alone. And then everything else was upside.
You know, we signed the deal to buy the company in late 22. We closed it in early 23 and brought you in late 23 to the company. I'll close my ears here, but what do you remember about Thoma Bravo and about us?
You don't have to close your ears. So you know this because we had many discussions about it. I had only ever worked in public companies. So I didn't really know what to expect, and I don't know whether that was a good thing or not a good thing. I'll let you be the judge. But people would say, right? It's private equity has an association, and one of the associations is, it can be really tough. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, well, we managed our business in the public market between 2018 and 2023. Like, it's hard to get tougher than that. That was a really difficult circumstance. And so I don't know how much tougher it can be, certainly be different. And it, I mean, to say it surpassed my expectations would be an understatement. And I'm not saying that to just be kind. I found you folks to be exactly as people would expect, factually really deep, anecdotally deep, like meaning not just knowing the facts, but understanding why they are what they are. Very clear-sighted, really consistent. That was my experience. I found every time I got on the phone, I didn't hear a variation of a different story or a variation even of the same story. It was like the same concrete understanding. Very steady, very calm. I was surprised by the degree to which the team at Thoma seemed to be very people-focused, that you felt that nothing great was going to happen unless we got the right team in place, very focused on the team. And you said it so many times, but it has come back to me several times over the course of the last 14 or 15 months, which is, all we're here to do is build a better business. And we want to talk about how to do that every time we interact with you and with the management team. And so that has proven to be totally true. I had no expectations. You've beaten my no expectations. And
well, that's the way we like it. Set it really low, and hopefully we can clear that. But thank you for those comments. And that is how we've always fashioned ourselves, if nothing else, consistent. We are who we are. We present ourselves a certain way. We deliver, I think, on how we present ourselves. So thank you for those comments.
Can I ask you the same question?
Yes.
Did you have different expectations of me when you first met me than has come to pass?
And I think we were going to talk about that later, but let's get into it.
This is my performance review. I don't get a performance review that regularly, and now we're doing it in front of the whole audience.
No, it was interesting because, we normally, even though Tom Lee was a part of your journey at Ceridian, but you weren't a pure kind of private equity, having private equity owned CEO kind of, right? Which is something sometimes we look for. But you had operated at scale, a really big business that was complex operationally and very successfully. And I think you're very good with people. You're intuitive. And I think we kind of picked that up in the interview process, that you're very people-focused and you're a very strong leader and you have a very good style. You listen first, but the way you ask questions, people kind of know what you're saying, and what your opinions are. I think where we probably underestimated how much impact you would have is on the go-to-market. We knew that was an issue with Coupa. That was the issue, right? Product market fit's great, market's good, very product-centric company. But the way that you've had that go-to-market experience and the people you have brought in and the processes that you've brought in, we feel like we know a lot about go-to-market. I feel like every time I'm in a meeting, I learn something new from you and your team. And so we're now applying that in as many places as we can. But you have, and I don't just say this because I'm looking at you through a screen, but you have definitely exceeded our expectations, and we're just delighted to have you and the whole team you brought in.
Well, that's a very kind thing to say. You hold a super high standard, and we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to please two major stakeholders, yourselves and our customers. And so we don't get it right every day. We know that. But the remarkable thing about you guys is that when we don't get it right, you understand that. You're willing to help us think it through. You're a really good thought partner. And it's like kind of a nice 1 + 1 = 3 equation most days. So I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's, I've been doing this a long time. And so one of the things I love is the opportunity to learn, and the fact that I'm able to learn so many new things from you and your team. And I should also say this, some of the product initiatives and the strategy, that's also really to be so good tactically in execution and go to market, but also so there's so many levers here strategically for the company, and you're uncovering those as well. So it's been an absolute joy for us.
Thank you.
But
Great team.
maybe to, I'm sure it wasn't all roses when you joined. I mean, we usually hear later from new people, well, there was this challenge and that challenge. What are some of the challenges you see, or what are some of the things you're trying to tackle? Maybe kind of on your initial, when you came in, what are some of the challenges, either in the category, the industry, or the company itself, and how are you, trying to address those challenges?
Yeah, it's a great question, and lots of embedded questions. So let me try and take it apart a little bit. At Coupa specifically, you've said this to me in your own words. I believe it a long time ago. A really great mentor said it to me, Leagh, it's about the team or about the team. That's it. It's the only thing that you can meaningfully solve for. So we've spent a lot of time over the course of the last 14 months trying to get the right people in the right places with the right level of ambition and the right level of humility to really work together to realize the potential of this great company. And that's been largely our focus. We've been helped. Here's what's going on in the most macro, and you know this probably far better than I do. We operate in a space that is called business spend management. So what is business spend management? It's like the buying and selling of any good of any kind between a buyer and a supplier. And in our case, buyers are generally companies, mid-market, corporate companies, large enterprise companies, global multinationals, et cetera. And they have hundreds of thousands, millions of suppliers. And at the same time, the backdrop that they are operating in is really, really complicated. So global trade, buying and selling of anything, is about $33 trillion a year. It's growing at 14.5% compounded. And it's getting way more complicated, more regulations, more jurisdictional change, more nationalism, less globalism, really complicated for people to be able to manage, and they are reaching for support. And McKinsey says that on the buyer side, there's about $100 billion of inefficiency. And on the supplier side, there's about $250 billion of inefficiency in this trade process. So you can imagine what we get to do is tackle a $350 billion inefficient problem and make it better incrementally over time. That's our job. And I feel perhaps because of the role that I get to play every day, that the biggest difference between Coupa and everybody else in this category, I'm bad at sports analogies, so I'm going to give you one and see if it's right. I feel like everybody else is sort of skating where the puck is, and we're skating to where the puck is going. That's my sports analogy.
I think that's appropriate.
Is it? Okay.
I think that's well done, yeah.
Thank you. And I'll tell you why. You know that from the very first time we ever engaged with a customer, we asked for a simple thing. Can we have permissioned use of your data? We'll be great stewards of it, but we want to be able to use it in a structured, anonymized, permissioned way for the betterment of every single customer that works in this network of buyers and sellers. That's what we want to be able to do. That's our value proposition. And our customers, the vast majority, have agreed to do just that. And so we are a cloud native company. We're not trying to migrate from on-premise technology to cloud. We're a cloud native company with tremendous scale. We're AI native from our very inception. We have about 7 trillion of transaction data today that we are custodians of on behalf of our customers. It grows at $1.3 trillion a year. And we imagine, as a result of skating to where the puck is going, that we can transform the way that buying and selling gets done between companies and suppliers. And we think we're uniquely capable of doing that. Somebody once said to me, I know I've shared this with you, that the incumbents in the age of AI who have been gathering data have a tremendous advantage. And we believe that we are one of those.
That's perfect segue. I mean, the permission use of data, Coupa was very front-footed in that regard, which is an incredible benefit for an incumbent. But can you talk about the AI, the way you see it, the opportunity, what you find there?
Yeah, I can. So maybe I'll take you to the end game. The end game is that you have suppliers on one side of a network, and buyers on the other side of a network, and each one of them set parameters under which they will trade with one another. And this network, this data store, which today is 7 trillion, but even if it just grows at increasing consistent compounded rates, it'll be about $60 trillion worth of permission use data by 2032. That data will know who on each side of that equation bought from whom, at what price, against what regulation, leveraging what contracts, on what day. It will know all of those things. So if I am a buyer and you are a supplier and you set the conditions under which you will sell and I set the conditions under which I will buy, we can apply AI, increasingly so a federation of AI agents against that data, to execute those transactions against yours and my stated parameters. And we don't need as many people in the middle of it as are in the middle of it today. That's where we're going, and we're getting there. We're getting there in little tiny ways. I'll give you the best, most recent example that I have. About 30 minutes ago, I was on the phone with the CPO of a global multinational company, financial institution. He said to me, you know what, Leagh, I got to tell you, I asked my team the other day how many contracts we have that don't have a good exit clause. That was the only thing I wanted to understand. How many of our global contracts, we have about 20,000 suppliers, and we have about 3 to 4 contracts per supplier. How many of them don't have a great exit clause? And I got to tell you, Leagh, absent Coupa, that would take me 2 months, 30 people, and a tremendous amount of training to be able to execute on that and to figure out the answer. But with contract intelligence, which is a Coupa product, leveraging AI, we can do that in less than a day. We can have a complete answer. It's thorough. We understand where our risks are, and we can begin to improve them. And so that's where we're headed. We got to do it incrementally in order to be able to get to that big vision, but that's what we hope to be able to do.
Amazing. Shifting gears for a second. I mean,
sure.
Talk about, the company has this big event, Inspire, for its customers. But can you maybe talk about that? It's been a long history here and very well attended, but talk about that event and how it helps Coupa interact with its customer base.
Sure. I'm super happy to do that. Most software companies have customer events. I went to my first Inspire in the spring of last year, and I expected it to be exactly as I had seen in my past, and it wasn't. What was it instead? It was really an event for customers that Coupa hosts, as opposed to a customer event for Coupa to show off Coupa. And I was really amazed by that. This is a place where people come to interact with each other, to learn from one another. They see one another, even though they operate in different countries and different companies, as colleagues. They want to try and make what they do, their profession, operate better and differently. They have great imaginations. They want to be stimulated. And so our job is to create a forum for them to be able to do that and to provoke them in different ways so that when they leave, they're full of energy and enthusiasm to go affect change. Not as our designee, but on behalf of what they do. Again, the CPO today said to me, Leagh, I'm not just a CPO, I'm a business person. I'm like, of course you are. I mean, you're driving business process revolution in your business if you do it right. And that's what they do when they come together. They think about how to break things and do them totally differently instead of how to increment them. And we give them an opportunity to convene. That's all.
Lastly, a very broad question, but an interesting one, which is what do you hope for Coupa in the future?
Gosh, and it's a very broad question. Well, we talk about building the network that drives the future of trade. I hope we can do that. I hope that we can make our customers more agile and adaptable and efficient as a result of doing that. I hope that we can put people to higher order work as a result of eliminating more mundane tasks. I hope we can make the world safer and fairer by making trade safer and fairer. I hope we can give our people, the people who work at Coupa, a reason to get up every day and to feel ambitious and excited. Like, it's why you work in enterprise software, because you think you can change the world. That's why you do it. And I hope we can. I hope we can actually do that. I think enterprise software companies have the luxury of being able to, as cute as it sounds, like change the way that things get done fundamentally and forever. And I think that we're capable of doing that. I want to go do that. Amazing.
Well, thank you so much. I will say it really is a privilege to work with you and all the learning, and it's a special company, but with a special leadership team. So thanks for all that you've done for Thoma Bravo so far, and I really appreciate you joining this conversation.
It's a real honor to be able to work with you, and please know how much we appreciate it. Our entire team feels supported every single day, and we only get to do what we do because of your support, so thank you.
Thanks to Leagh for coming on today. If you like this episode, be sure to listen to next week's episode of Beyond the Deal, our mini-series where we get to ask her anything. I'm Holden Spaht. Thanks for joining us.